Hi, in this tutorial we're going to make a single tooth disc in Fusion 360. First we're going to define the outside diameter. This can be anything you want it to be. Next we're going to define the inside diameter of the single tooth disc. Again, can be anything you want it to be, depends on your robot design. Now I'm going to create a center line, just for reference. And then I'm going to design the tooth profile. This again can be anything you want it to be. Whatever looks strong is usually strong enough. I'm just using a conic curve to make the rounded edge. And I'm moving around until it looks right. But this can be whatever shape you please. It doesn't matter. Next, we're going to make a circle at the center to design the hub and spokes. This defines the thickness of the outside of the spinner. Now we're going to make the spokes. This again can be whatever you want it to be. I'm just using the offset tool to create a spoke. Now I create a circle in the center to be the hub, and use the trim tool to remove the excess line. Now I use the circular pattern tool, create free spokes. You could create more. Again, it's up to you. And then a circle in the middle. You can change that one later. Now we just extrude the single tooth disc out. And there we have our overall design for the single tooth disc. Now, how do we make it balanced? So first I'm going to create a line. This is going to be the mass that offsets the weight of the single tooth. Now I create an inner circle. This defines the inside of the mass. Again, I'm going to use the conic curve to create the mass. This can be really anything you want it to be, as long as it's just an amount of mass that can be moved around within the circle and remain concentric. I'm just using the conic curve because I think it looks nice, but you could use an arc or whatever. It could be a square. I've seen people use cutouts. It just has to be a movable mass. It should be fairly large. You want it to be about the same weight as your tooth. A little bit heavier is what you're looking for, but you can just guess. Try what works. I'll show you how to adjust it later to balance the tooth. So you can see I can move it there. Now I extrude the mass out. Okay, So by default, Fusion 360 doesn't have a way of finding CG, so we have to use an add-in. So here we're going to create a new script in Python. I'm going to call it COG2 because I already have one. But you can call it whatever you want. Then we edit the script. Now I have the script in my copy storage, but I will post the link to the script below. You can just copy and paste it in. Now a point will be generated when we run the COG2 script. So you can see we're already pretty close in the COG. It's just the mass is too far to one side, so I have to reduce the weight of the offset mass. Now we're going to rerun the COG script and see it gets a little closer to center. We want that to be directly in the center for a proper single tooth disc. So I'm going to reduce the weight of the mass further. Okay, so it's a little too far up, as you can see there. So I'm going to adjust the mass downwards. This really doesn't take too long, but if you're doing it properly, you'll want to spend a bit of time doing this. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm not going to get it exactly right, but it doesn't have to be perfect. The way you mount your single tooth disc will probably affect, will have a certain amount of tolerance to it. So an perfect centralized CG isn't necessary. So the CG is close enough for this tutorial, so I'm going to create a circle, and this will pilot onto the hub. Now this would actually be a balanced disc, but the circle isn't concentric with the outside hub circle I made. If your disc is balanced correctly, it should be close enough that it won't be visible. Okay, there we have it. Single tooth disc.